Hello everybody, this is the Adafruit CircuitPython Weekly for Monday, May 21st, 2018. I'm Scott. I work for Adafruit on CircuitPython along with other folks in this chat. This is our weekly meeting where we cover all things CircuitPython. We'll start off by doing a status update or a state of CircuitPython. Sorry, state of CircuitPython. Can you tell we took a week off last week and I'm a little rusty? We'll start with state of CircuitPython, which is basic statistics about what's going on and a general overview of where we're going. We'll follow that up with hug reports, which we do in a round robin style where we give everybody a chance to chime in. Hug reports are a chance for you to say thank you to other people in the community and be specific about what they've done that is awesome. After we do hug reports, we'll do status updates, and that's a chance for you to talk about what you've been working on, whether it's a certain CircuitPython based project or whether it's some core work in CircuitPython, and then also talk about kind of what you're going to do in the next week or so. It's a great way to just keep everybody on the same page. And after that we just have this sort of discussion / in the weeds section, which is the more in-depth discussions that kind of come out of the discussions that we had during hug reports and status updates. All right. So as always, sorry for the typing / desk noise. I have my mic right next to my keyboard, and so I will be adjusting that later. But I do take time codes, so time codes are super handy if you want to just skip around in the recording later. The time codes will tell you what time to skip to. So that's why I'm typing so that I have notes. So let's get going. State of CircuitPython is where I go over stats. I have a script that pulls this every 2 weeks. Since we missed, yeah, mechanical keyboards. Since we missed last week's meeting because the three, Dan Catney and I were at PyCon, I have the stats from last week as well. So this is for the week before last Monday. We had 16 pull requests merged from 7 different authors: Dean, Jerry, Tony DeCola, Jeff Epler, Notro, myself, and Dan Halbert. We had 2 reviewers, myself and Dan. And we had 8 closed issues by 5 people and 5 opened by 5 people. And then these are the stats for this week. And we were at PyCon, which is the PyCon US, which is the Python convention. It happened in Cleveland, and we had a sprint. So check these numbers out. In the last week, we had 27 pull requests merged from 14 different authors, which I think is a record. Those 14 authors are Deshipu, Matt Land, Dan Halbert, R. Hooper, MC Scope, C. Erickson, Jerry Needell, A. Pat, Notro, D. Hirata, Jovial Juggernaut, Margaret Catney, and ZZSNZMN, which is epic. A lot of newcomers there, so thank you to all the new folks and the existing folks, of course. We had 4 reviewers, myself, Dan, Catney, and Jerry. So thank you to reviewers. You make the world go round. We had 6 new PRs with 5 authors who were in that previous list. We had 19 closed issues by 4 people and 9 opened by 6 people. We've got 7 currently open pull requests, actually as of last night. 3 of those are on CircuitPython core, and 4 of those are for libraries. And then we have 122 open issues. Again, as always, most of those are on the core repo. Download stats 2.3.1 is the newest stable release, and that has a 1,119. I think it's been 2 weeks, so that's on pace. What we typically see is 400 to 500 a week. And the bulk of those are on the Circuit Playground Express. 3.0 Alpha 6 is the latest unstable, and it has the M4 support. So it has 237 total downloads, where 62 of those are the Metro M4 Express, which we encourage people to update as well. Okay, so that is the stats in general. Overall, I would say we're close to 3.0 beta. We're waiting for Touch.io. I'll comment on that a little bit more during my part. PyCon sprinting helped reduce the outstanding issue count before the beta to release candidate phase. So hopefully that means we'll have fewer betas before we get to release candidates, which is epic. And thank you everybody for helping with that. Okay, that's State of CircuitPython. I will take a time code and we will move on to Hug Reports. 541. Hug Reports is a chance for us to give shout outs to people who have been doing awesome, epic work in the community and let everybody know who may not have been aware of it, how awesome these other folks are. So first and foremost, I'll start. First and foremost, I want to say a huge hug report and thank you to Dan and Katney. The two of you made PyCon so much better than it was the previous year in terms of CircuitPython itself. We did open spaces all 3 days and they went really well. Sprinting went really well as well. So thank you to you two. Also thank you to Phil and Lamore for giving everybody at PyCon demos, which I forgot to actually put in my notes. I also want to say thank you to Nicholas, Carol, Les, and Josh for hanging out with us a bunch at PyCon. It's great to see you. Hopefully we'll see each other more often than PyCon, but at least we can see each other once a year. I wanted to thank all of the PyCon sprinters who did the awesome work getting all the pull requests in. I'll just read off first names. I won't go into detail. But Dylan W., Anders, David, Dylan H., Adam, Roy, John, Mike, Margaret, Matt, Chris, Lady Red, Corinne, Craig, Aaron, John, Boris, Drew, and Catherine. You all rocked the sprints, and I'm so happy to see some of you in this meeting, which is great as well. And then lastly, yeah, I know. Yeah, it was great. We had so many people who were so interested at PyCon. It's really awesome. And then lastly, and Jeff, you're a perfect example of this. Jeff said, that's a huge list. Wow. Group hug for everybody who's been a part of our community and has been so welcoming to everybody that we brought in the last couple weeks. You all make it awesome. So those are my hug reports for this week. Les, do you have any?
I do, yeah. Lady Red's talk at PyCon was fantastic. It was really good to see an in-depth guide presented so well on how to use neopixels, dot stars, the whole range of these lights that we can use for projects. It was really interesting, and it was a highlight of PyCon for me.
Awesome.
And obviously you guys as well, you were a highlight as well.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Les. Carter?
Just one to you and Dan and Katney for going to PyCon and representing. Good job. Good job on that.
Thank you. All right. Stefan is right on schedule. Thank you. Stefan says, group hug this week. Thanks to all who suggested possible fixes for serial noise on the Vanguard board and had suggestions on CircuitPython startup. Also, a huge hug for Les. Big Les P being on means I'm no longer first alphabetically. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, when I do the round robins, I go by the list in the voice chat, which is alphabetical. So that's great. C. Grover, how are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm enjoying the fact that Big Les is our buffer now, so we can be more prepared. I've got a group hug. It's amazing to see the progress both in the Discord channel for the way CircuitPython is growing, but I was really impressed by the sprint activity at PyCon, and happy to see the family growing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, C. Grover. Dan.
I just want to echo all the hugs that you gave Scott, and also add Scott in, because the three of us, without all the three of us, would it not have been a great PyCon. It made it a great PyCon experience. And also, I think hugs to all the anonymous people who came to our open sessions and were so enthusiastic about trying out the Gemma. It was really hardening. And, it was just fantastic because of that.
Totally. Sorry. I'm laughing in the chat. Big Les P is threatening to change his name to start with a Z so he can go last. Actually, that would still buffer them, because you would want to start with an S, because I always start. Jerry?
Yeah, well, I'll echo the group hug to all the PyCon, CircuitPython team at PyCon. It was really fun to watch the activity. And I do want to, mention Dan, Roy, and Notro for one of those a pretty amazing debugging day the other day, trying to fix the very misleadingly entitled SD card crash. But that was quite a day. It was fun. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Summersoft for being incredibly supportive all the time on this channel and on so many other channels. You've been doing a great job of just really helping people out, especially me. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, Josh. 50. Josh already said. Group hug this week is for Entol for the amazing work on Mu and his Education Summit talk. Truly amazing. Also, huge thanks to Dan Halbert, Tanut, and Katney for spending time with me and Big Les P at PyCon. Also, thanks for the gemmas. They were amazing. Thanks, Josh. And for those of you who don't know, Josh is the creator of EduBlocks, which is a block-based Python programming website, which is awesome. And we're looking forward to getting CircuitPython support for that. All right, Katney.
All right, so I have hugs for Dan and Scott for PyCon. Dan for doing the Gemma Quick Start Guide. Our open spaces would not have happened as well as they did without that. Scott for doing a lightning talk, which gave us a lot of visibility and I think brought a lot of people to us throughout the conference, and group hug for both of you for the open spaces, the sprints, and just the entire conference. You guys made it amazing. I have a hug for Josh for his lightning talk. And for EduBlocks in general and the upcoming CircuitPython support, and for offering to write guides with us. I have a hug for Les for spending all the time with us, and also for offering to write guides. That's super exciting. Hug for Jerry for his first merge. That's exciting. I have a hug for Catherine for her Gemma project and offering to write a guide about it. Group hug for Roy, Adam, Chris, Margaret, Matt L, Matt W, Corinne, Lady Red, and everyone else that I'm forgetting for all the amazing work during the sprint and all of the new pull requests that we got in. Dylan for getting most of the work done on getting Travis set up on the Learn repo. Very cool. That's finally going.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna be linting all the Learn guide stuff. That's really exciting. And then also a hug for Craig for starting to lint the Learn repo. So there's a lot of those guides that have already been linted, which is super cool. And then a hug for Nicholas Entol for starting out Mac packaging on Mu. That's one step closer to things being super, super easy to use on what's already a really awesome editor. And Carol for being amazing and hanging out with us at PyCon. And Scott, if you need me to just type that out, I can.
The only thing I missed were the sprint one with all the list of people.
All right, I will get that typed in.
So if you type that in, then I'll just copy and paste it in here.
Will do.
That was a little too quick for me. All right, Corinne, go ahead and paste it in. Thanks to Tan, Newt, Katney, and Dan Halbert, and everyone I met at the PyCon sprints for being patient with me and helping me get set up in the ecosystem. Also, a big thanks for the gemmas and for the AdaBox donated to PyLadies. Yes, thank you for supporting PyLadies by getting the Ada box, Corinne. You're awesome. Mike?
Well, I wanted to thank you and Dan and Kattni for traveling to PyCon, and your talk especially enthusiastically showing the products and how they can help people. And everybody who was there, big thank you. Hopefully everybody enjoys their gemmas and can see what the Adafruit CircuitPython platforms can do to help people out. And a special one to everybody who contributed during the sprints, or even if you had ideas, you didn't do a commit or something. Big thanks, because this isn't a Adafruit only type thing. This is a community thing. It's emphasized quite a bit, and this wouldn't be a fraction of what it is if the community hadn't contributed.
Totally. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
All right, Nis. Hug report. Time code, sorry.
No, that's all right. I don't know how good this mic sounds, so I didn't want to.
Sounds good. Go ahead.
Okay. Just Jerry, John Park, Dean Miller. Dean Miller is really superb, and we never hear him in Discord. But he's a written presence. GitHub and other cool places.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, Dean works at Adafruit HQ. But he's too busy doing awesome things to join our Discord. Okay, Roy?
For me, the big hug to the entire community for being so welcoming, and especially another hug to the three of you at PyCon. So that's Scott and Dan and Kattni for making me feel welcome and helping get me started, and answering all the questions I had to help me get the commits working.
Awesome. Thanks, Roy. Kattni had an extra hug report for Wolf for talking so much about CircuitPython at PyCon as well. Kattni says she had to keep giving him CircuitPython cards to hand out because he kept handing them all out. That is very true. It was great to meet Wolf and hang out with him as well. Sai, do you have anything? All right, just listening in. Welcome. SDW? Nothing specific, just general kudos to Scott, Kattni, Dan, and the rest of the community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Summersoft. Oh. Summersoft says, Tanut, Dan Halbert, and Kattni for attending PyCon and spreading the Blinka love. It's a Blinka emoji. Hugs to everyone at PyCon that helped with sprints, etc., and have joined the community. Last but not least, extra hug to Dan Halbert for taking some weekend time to help. Awesome. Thank you so much. And with that, I just got a text though, so I was distracted. With that, we'll move on to status updates. Status updates is a chance for you to talk about what you've been working on what, in the past week, or in this case, 2 weeks. And then we can also talk about what kind of you hope to do in the next upcoming week. This can be whatever project you're working on. For Josh, it could be EduBlock, so we'd love to hear about that. And where's my brain? And if you have larger topics that you want to talk about, just note it, and I'll put it as a discussion bullet point to have at the end of or after the status update section. So I'll start, and I'm behind. Yeah, Josh, you can go last. I'll just skip you and do you after Summersoft. For myself, before I went to PyCon, I added pause and unpause ability to it, to both I2S out and audio out. This means that if you have a file playing, you could say pause and then you can do resume, which will just pick up where it left off. It really just like suspends all the state briefly and then lets it keep going. So I added that, and then I went to PyCon, and PyCon was great. We did, I'm getting text messages in the background that's distracting me. I need to figure out how to mute that. So PyCon was awesome. We did the lightning talk, the open spaces. We handed, or the gemmas were out to everybody, and we did the sprints. So they went really good. I then went and visited my grandma, and I did pull requests and kind of got caught up on all of the stuff from PyCon. And I'm back at home. So today I'm finishing up the newsletter. So if anybody knows of stuff that should go into the Python for microcontrollers, my fiance is texting me. Brain. After today, I'm doing Touch.io. I was thinking of it as two things, both the M0 support and the M4 support, but I think I've been getting really hung up on the M4 support, so I'm going to just get the M0 support in, and sweet, Josh got his mic working. So the hope is that we can move into the beta phase pretty quickly here with at least Touch.io for M0, and then at some point we'll do Touch.io for M4 as well. So that's me. Let's keep going. Big Last P.
Hello. Well, in the last week, I've been messing around with CircuitPython on the Gemma board that I got from PyCon. Thank you very much. Written a blog post on how to control NeoPixels using pretty much the same code for 3 projects and just adapting a line or two here and there. That's a nice, gentle introduction for me to learn how to use the board a bit more efficiently. And also NeoPixels are cool. Looking ahead, I'm looking to do another blog post on using the Gemma as probably a USB HID device. Because I've just purchased some rather large buttons from Maplin, like emergency stop buttons, and I want to mash the button and something happen on screen, like the keyboard come to life and type something in a terminal or visit a web page, something like that. So that's my next goal.
That sounds awesome. Catherine did a really cool project that was using touch as Morse code to HID. So there's code for that you could take a look at as well.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, I was amazed. She did 2 really cool projects really quickly, which was awesome. Okay, Carter.
Yeah, I'm starting to look at adding a new feature to what is currently called the HT16K33 library, which is what's used for a range of LED backpack products that Adafruit sells. And someone mentioned that there's the bicolor bar graph, like 24 segment, that's not in there. So I went to go start adding that in and kind of looked at the current state of that whole repo and library. And I've created a few issues and discussions over there about just kind of basically revamping the whole thing and kind of cleaning it up at the same time.
Yeah.
You've chimed in, and I think Deshipu's chimed in on that. And I think that conversation is kind of more or less done, and I will probably start doing all of that.
Great. That'll be really good. The display stuff definitely can use more attention for sure. Okay. Stefan. Finally got the first YouTube video out with a link. check the notes for these links. Thanks for feedback from those who went out of their way and out of their comfort zone to watch it. Finally told Twitter about VGKit's Vanguard board and put up some PayPal buttons to buy the Rainbow Kit. Tested to prove minimum function on the board in both V2 and V3 of CircuitPython. Trying to figure out whether to go strong on CircuitPython or MicroPython. Currently, as per the demo shown in the video, everything is dependent on exporting main.py symbols to the REPL shell and having in-memory continuity between main.py and the REPL. Need to work through this to work out how to spin this up on CircuitPython or rethink my approach. Oh, and saved my PhD, parentheses, continuation panel, and rebuilt my laptop, which imploded. This week, I'll be figuring out how to keep up with Big Les P's prolific blogging and actually putting up some content on VGKits. I need your ideas what to build, which would be the most affordable for educators? Question mark. And a link to the video. Thanks, Stefan. Imploded. All right, see Grover.
Well, I've been distracted from coding because I needed to learn KiCad, and got my first batch of boards back, and I'm pretty happy with them. Now I'm just soldering like there's no tomorrow. So 6 more boards went in. I'm waiting for those to arrive so I can populate those. It's a family that's Trinket M0 compatible, so I can do a lot of my music and robotics and weather stuff. With an ecosystem that is like the Feather ecosystem, but I can use the smaller formatted Trinket boards for that.
Right.
And the final thing is I'm working on roboticizing sound boxes from a cuckoo clock, because we like the sound of the cuckoo clock. And, you know, I'm an audio guy, and so I said, well, I'll just do it with samples, and that got voted down. Electronic samples aren't the same as the organic whistle sound that the cuckoo clock made. So that'll be roboticized, and then we'll have the sound of the familiar cuckoo clock in the background.
That would be an awesome project.
Yeah, there's a couple other little sound modules in cuckoo clocks that are kind of unique, like brass spirals to sound like a chime. And I'll publish something on that at some point.
Great. Yeah, please do, and link us to it.
And it'll be CircuitPython.
Yay. Yay, CircuitPython. We're all impartial here, aren't we?
Yeah, I picked up on that.
All right, Dan.
So after returning from PyCon, there were some pull requests to follow up on because there were sort of some in process. So I was working on some of those. Over the weekend, Jerry found a kind of a mysterious bug, which took a while to debug because it was basically a second order bug, I think. So that caused random problems. And it was an error in the boot out handling that I had added a week or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
So fix that, push those changes, and also sort of in the background, not so visible, but so as you see from the videos, Limor and Phil are going great guns on building things with Cricut, and I'm supporting Limor by building her various specialized versions of CircuitPython for the CPX that she's attached to the Cricut board. So we're freezing in more libraries to make more room for memory and things like that.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing this week?
Oh, this week I'm going to work on one of the things that came up in the sprints was, could we make the instances of bus.io like I2C and UART and so forth be singletons, so you could create them over and over again and not have pins in use if you accidentally created the same one again. And so I'm probably going to implement that.
Okay.
All right.
And Jeff, if you want to I know you sent me the summary, but I forgot to put in my notes. So if you could repost that, that would be awesome. And we'll skip down to Jerry just briefly for that. So go ahead, Jerry.
Okay. Yeah, lots of. I forgot it's been 2 weeks and I can't remember what I was doing yesterday, so I'll try. bunch of little things. Finally got the update to the BitBang IO for the clock stretching timeout, which was a lot more pieces than I expected it to be. It looked a lot simpler than it was once I get into it, but don't know if it's useful, and I don't know if it actually will help with what was driving that was a problem with the B&O 055, which seems to be the one device that probably uses clock stretching most. Right. So I don't have one, so I can't really tell if it actually makes a difference. But so if anybody wants to try that, they can see if it actually makes it any better or not.
What was that chip?
The B&O 055, the 9 degree of freedom thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I created that issue and I have the hardware. I can help test you with that. How can I get a hold of your fixed code?
Oh, it's in. It's in.
Okay, I'll test it out.
Yeah. And what I found, the system I have that gave me the most trouble was the CCS 811 gas sensor. And I found with it, actually, that clock stretching wasn't really the problem. It was actually the clock speed, the frequency. So turning that down made that work a little better. It's still pretty flaky. But so, I don't know if you ever tried turning down the frequency on the BitBang IO, on the B&O 055.
No, I didn't go that far.
That might help as well. At least it made a big difference for the other sensor. So, but if you can verify at least that the clock stretching is working better, you have to. The default frequency is unchanged. It's still 255 microseconds. So if you just run it as it is now, it should not be any improvement. But you can set it a keyword parameter with timeout equals any value you want to increase that frequency. That timeout.
Right.
Otherwise, spent a bunch of time. Finally got back to playing with the CPX mostly on 3.0, trying to see what was working, what wasn't. And every time I tried in the past, I always had trouble with audio I/O, and found out it was because there were a bunch of incompatibilities in it. So that was good to find out a few things that needed to be tweaked there.
Yep.
And then I finally I was playing with the TMP 007, the infrared thermopile sensor, and I realized there's no driver for it. So I made one. There was Tony DeCola had created a Python driver for Raspberry Pi, and I just converted it. A little extra effort, and so it'll be it's working now, and so I can start working on putting it and releasing it. So I think it's ready to go.
That'd be awesome.
And otherwise, let's see. Yeah, that was enough.
Good job, Jay. Thanks a lot.
Next week I'm going to be away, so I'm going to be gone for pretty much the next week and a half, 2 weeks on vacation. So I'll be kind of scarce after Thursday.
Have a good vacation.
Thanks.
Vacation's super important. I'm going to circle back before we get to you, Josh, and just read Jeff Epler's update. Jeff says, I've continued working on low-level issues with UZlib and UJSON because they're likely to be used in IoT-type devices where security is important. The most interesting bug I've discovered while looking for bugs in UJSON actually affects regular CircuitPython, where a numeric literal with a very large exponent evaluates to the wrong value, including when you write them directly in a .py source, not in JSON. The number of parsing bugs I found are all fixed in MicroPython now, but they have a low impact, so I'm not planning to pull request them into CircuitPython. As far as UZlib goes, the maintainer has been optimizing some of my changes to have the minimum possible impact on code size. It will take some time to get them all accepted, but things are progressing, and I'm confident we'll get to the point of having a UZlib that can be fed untrusted input. That's awesome, and thank you for that work, Jeff. Earlier we did talk a little bit about whether this was in the new MicroPython release, which is 1.9.4, and it's not. So we'll have to pay attention when we do our kind of standard update to MicroPython with the 4.0 work that hopefully won't be too long when we start doing. We'll just make sure that if we want those changes in, we get those in at that point as well. Okay, Josh.
Hello.
Hello.
Does this work? Oh,
yeah,
I
can hear you.
So this week, last week, or the week before, I was at PyCon, so I did a talk at the Education Summit and a lightning talk on the Friday. But this week I have been revising for exams that I missed whilst I was at PyCon. So I'll update you all on what I'm going to do. So EduBlocks is my drag and drop Python kind of program, and I'm porting it for CircuitPython. So if I just put an image in the notes page, you would see what it is. So it has the Python code on the blocks. So this is it working with the Gemma M0 from PyCon US. So that's the first board that's been implemented. And then I'll add support for Circuit Playground Express and Metro, hopefully. So yeah, it's all being added in slowly, but I will get there one day. And then I should have a beta release for people to test, and I'll drop a link on the chat.
Perfect. I'm super excited for this. I'm sure I'm not the only one as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you need more boards, email us and we'll hook you up with more boards. I don't know whether you've actually done that now or not. All right, Kattni.
So, 2 weeks. I actually forgot that it had been 2 weeks till you mentioned it. So we did PyCon, which was amazing. It was lovely to meet everyone. Before PyCon, I mostly finished the pulse sensor plotter guide for Mu, and was asked to take another pass at explaining it. So when I got back, Dan helped me with that, and we went through that and re-explained it, and that was good. So that's been published. I finished which I think is going to be the last plotter guide, is soil moisture sensor, and that is also done. Just waiting on the video for that, and then that will be able to be published. Awesome. Obviously, over the past 2 weeks, I've done a lot of community-related work with helping people out, getting started in our community. I got 3 new people set up with LearnGuide accounts, which is really exciting. So that should hopefully we'll get them started with guides, and that should be great. So the next guide that I'll be working on is a guide which I think we definitely have needed on the CPX Express class. There's a few guides that use it, but there is no centralized place that explains all of the features other than read the docs, which is not super beginner friendly. So we're going to do up a guide that has all the features in there. So in the midst of that, I realized we had no sound example, nothing using the microphone. So I added sound level as something you can print out, and loud sound as an input. But it is not working. Well, it works by itself, and with any other number of things except for start tone, stop tone. So I have to try and figure that out, and I think if it isn't compatible, we may have to forego adding that until we can figure out why. So I also updated the CPX class for 3.0. There were changes to the Audio I/O API, and it now contains checks to see whether or not you're using 3.0, and if you are, it uses a different version of the Audio I/O implementation under play file, which was the only thing that was an issue. And in the midst of all that as well, we realized that LAS3DH driver had not been updated for 3.0 either. So that has also been fixed. Thanks to Jerry for the help on that and for getting that merged for me. And so that now works on 3.0.
Great job.
So that's my status update. So the next week is going to be, the next 2 weeks, I guess, at this point is going to be working on the Express class guide. I really, really want this sound stuff to work in the Express class.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and see if there's some way to work around that. I think it's a memory issue, but I'm not entirely sure how to go about it. So I'm going to give that some time. And if it doesn't work out, then move on. And if it does, get that added and get the library updated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the audio stuff is complicated and it's kind of intertwined, so it doesn't surprise me that they don't work together.
I really think it's something with the arrays. But it's really weird because Playtone uses start tone and stop tone, and
Right.
Playtone works fine. So I have no idea. It's weird. So that's why I'm still giving it some time, because it seems like it wants to work. It just doesn't work in certain orders or something like that. So
Right.
anyway.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were trying to record at the same time as playing that it didn't work. If that makes sense. Like if you're doing start tone, record for your sound level thing, and then stop tone, like that doesn't surprise me that doesn't work. Because there's like machinery under the hood that's similar for both of them.
Okay.
So
all right, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, filing an issue on the core repo for that would be good.
Okay. Writing it down. All right, excellent. That is my update.
Awesome, thank you. Corinne. New to the world of Adafruit and CircuitPython, but loving it. We'll be introducing my coworkers to the Gemma and the CircuitPython Express today. Possibly do some project work with the boards I have. Someday I will bash through the Sphinx code and generate the CircuitPython C code into Python stub code. One can dream. The goal of that would be to allow PyCharm to autocomplete all of the built-in APIs. For those of you who didn't notice, Corinne did some awesome work with the make files. So to run Sphinx, you can now just type at the top level, make HTML, I believe, and then it'll run Sphinx for you, which is awesome. And definitely the more Sphinx way of doing it. So Corinne updated all of that during the sprints. Okay. And a thumbs up from Corinne, so I got it right. Mike.
I've been helping PT at Adafruit. He's been doing basically like a Cricut Circuit Playground Express bot of the day. If you look at the social media, you'll see the various bots, and he has some ideas for more, so I'll be helping out. And now that I've got my own Cricut, you'll be seeing some CircuitPython code that may do some interesting things. So
awesome.
That's what's on my plate.
Cricut looks neat. I gotta order mine at some point too. Although I've got way more projects.
Cricut's really going to shine with M. M0 is a little tight, so it's getting the right mix of things. So it uses all the peripherals. Doesn't try to eat up too much memory.
Right. Yeah, I think you're spoiling NIS's status update a bit.
Probably.
Which is how awesome the M4 is.
The whole ecosystem. There's lots of goodness now and coming up ahead. So it's going to be an exciting time to program in Python.
Totally. Yes, I'm very excited for the next few Ada boxes. That's all I will say.
Yeah.
All right, I'll read off NIS's status update. NIS says, receiving my first M4 was like being let out of jail. I'm still on tilt about that. Have not taken a survey of what we can already do in CircuitPython with QSpy flash ROM. Assumed a lot there, but went right into Arduino for this. Arduino 4th, parens Jaffa-ARM, ported to the CMD51 M4 chip with a GitHub link. Check the notes for the link. I did a 3x Alpha 6 build, having tested Dan's new CircuitPython firmware build guide, and it worked. But I don't remember what MCU is for, Metro M0 Express or Metro M4 Express, one of the two. Working on QSpy flash read-write primitives for Arduino and this 4th interpreter. More thinking about working/typing/coding. I did a full memory dump of the M4 to convince myself there's really that much space inside that thing. There is. Winky smiley face. Yes, the memory is epic. And Roy does say, we're going to have to be careful not to forget about the M0 as the M4 takes over. That is true as well, Roy. That is for sure.
Thanks for reading that. I get stage fright. I couldn't have walked through that if I tried.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you have a mic since you do post that. But yeah, thanks, Nis. Roy, you're up next.
Okay. So other than helping bisect the bug Dan fixed over the weekend and the work I did at the sprints, I have been and will continue to be working on exploring LED colors and animations and looking over code samples and libraries like Fancy LED and Fast LED, as well as tons of samples on the Adafruit site, Arduino, and so on. And this is all in preparation to help make a higher order helpers, basically generators for LED animations. So the goal is to make it dead simple for anyone to animate LEDs without actually having to think about loops.
Right.
And this has led me down the path of reading up on RGB LED or light perception and gamma and all sorts of fun stuff like that. I've got some bookmarks now. And I have a bunch of hardware arriving tomorrow that will help me do more than just a single dot star at a time. And so that means I'll have to add support to the generators for dealing with strips versus matrices and rings, because each of those will have different characteristics you need to solve.
Right.
And I expect to have a bunch of those working hopefully next week, but don't know for sure. And then time permitting, I'll sort of follow on with things like comet patterns and other patterns that we've seen a lot of people animate with. And that'll help make the library structured so that other people can easily add animations to it. And then I do expect at some point to start running into performance and memory recycle problems, so at that point we'll know which things need moving into C.
Yeah, that's great. And you've already done the C side, so...
Yeah, a little bit. Haven't written an extension yet, but shouldn't be hard.
Nah, you could do it. If you could do the reload stuff, the extension stuff is easy. All right, Sai, I'm going to skip you. SDW, do you have an update?
Yes. By the way, I'm the other Scott. You can call me Scott W if you want to differentiate. Okay. So what I've been messing with lately is I got myself a microbit. I've been playing around with that. The reason for that is a project I'm going to try taking on here. I don't know if anybody is aware of a program called Thawny. It bills itself as a Python IDE for beginners. It was written by the CS department from a university in Estonia. And it's basically a very simple IDE that gives you some of the features of an IDE, like being able to step through your code and things like that without throwing all of like Eclipse or PyCharm or something that's more professionally related, you know. So they have a plugin API, which is not real well documented at this point, but part of the documentation is that there is a sample plugin, which is a backend for the microbit. And so my idea is to try to first get my brain around what the microbit plugin is doing, and then try to make a plugin for CircuitPython. So I don't know how easy or hard this is going to be, but I'm going to at least take a shot at it. And one thing that you talked about, like discussion topics, maybe this could be a discussion topic. One of the things that's really great about Thawny, and where I would tend to, if someone was trying to learn CPython, I would say take a look at Thawny over take a look at Mu, because it has the ability to step through code and whatnot. You can't do that with the microbit plugin, but I'm wondering, would there be anything that could be done with CircuitPython either now or something that could be added, maybe even as like a compile time option that would allow for like a distributed, remote debugging that would allow you to step through code that's running on the CircuitPython.
Mm-hmm.
So that's possibly an idea for the future.
Yeah, Dave Astles, who's not in this chat but is on Discord, has done some work there with adding kind of like a primitive debugger to like the REPL, or like the being able to just like do some control sequence and getting into the debugger there. So it's worth reaching out to both Dave to ask about that, but also I have had discussions with one of the Thani developers in the past, so let's make sure and reach out to them and figure out how far they got when they were doing it as well.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So first, my goal is to try to reach feature parity with the microbit one, and then maybe try to add on some other things after that.
Right. That sounds perfect. All right. Summersoft. Last but not least. High frequency pulse or Atmel Studio debugging guide has had some reviews and edits and suggestions. High frequency pulse in SAMD21 framework is done and working in quotes. Still trying to figure out how to fail gracefully. Can maybe apply to pulse in 2. May end up attempting DMA to maybe help alleviate endless interrupt loop. SAMD51 will start after that and most likely be quicker since I don't have to mess with EVSys and EIC, the event system and the external interrupt controller. So thank you, Summersoft. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. All right, thank you all. That was status updates. Now let's move on to the In the Weeds section. This is a chance for us to talk about just other topics in general. The only one I have on the list is from the Scott W. Do we want to continue to talk about debugging stuff? Thami looks really neat, and the more the merrier in terms of editor support, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, I worked at Jupyter and IPython in a class and missed the ability to step through code. There are a couple Jupyter kernels as well for CircuitPython that could definitely use some more love. They're mostly done. Jeff Appler says, sometimes I want a terminal mode editor built into CircuitPython, just run it in the terminal window.
How does something like that work when you get into a compile, like an MPY file?
Like, what do you mean?
Well, you're stepping through code and you call a driver. Or is it going to follow into that, or is it just going to follow through the main.py type file?
The MPY files as they are now do hold line number information.
Okay.
So as long as you had like the corresponding py file, you would be able to step through it. That is actually one thing that if we want to recoup memory, we could clear that information out, because it is, once you import an MPY file, you actually do store the line number information in memory.
Okay.
But we haven't done that yet, because I like good error messages.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to talk any more about PyCon? I don't know. Has anybody, have folks found any videos that they like? I'm still like pretty early on in watching all the videos.
The videos are up?
Oh yeah. Videos go up like next day. Yeah, lots of
all
videos.
The videos are up now. There's absolutely loads on YouTube. I'd looked today briefly.
Yeah, I'm still going through the keynotes. Like I watched Catherine's keynote and I watched Brett Cannon's keynote, which I had seen Brett's video before, but I'd seen him do the same talk before, but it's so good. It's not about Python specifically. It's just being like open source project participation and stuff like that. That's really quite good, and people are should check it out. Yeah, Summersoft, the 3-hour ones are rough, and yeah, those are the tutorial sessions, and I don't tend to watch all those. And Scott posted a...
So if you're looking for a better interface than YouTube for looking at which videos are there, you should check out the Pi Video site.
Ah. I will put that in there as well. Whoop. Right. All right. Well, thank you all for joining. It's been really great to have a bigger group of awesome folks to participate in this meeting. If you're listening to this for the first time and you do want to join us live, you can join us on the Adafruit Discord all week to text chat with us. You go to the URL adafru.it/discord. That will get you into our Discord channel. On the left-hand side, you'll see 2 CircuitPython ones. The first one is the text channel. The second one is the voice channel. This meeting happens every week on Mondays in the voice channel at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Everybody is welcome to join and participate. These videos are recorded and they're available same day on YouTube. The Adafruit YouTube, which is youtube.com/Adafruit. We have started posting those publicly, so we're getting like a few hundred views, which is pretty wild. And if we happen to miss a particular one, we will post in the CircuitPython text channel with a pinned post, which is in the top right under the pin icon. We'll let people know that, like, hey, we're not having a meeting this week, like we did last week. So again, thank you everybody for joining, and we look forward to talking with you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.